This is Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and this is Moon Equals Wrestling. On today's episode, I'm really just going to kind of touch on my thoughts and feelings on some random news articles or news items that are floating in the wrestling world. This won't take a super long time. Probably. So, first and foremost, I have this brand new microphone that my mom got me for my birthday, which was yesterday. Thanks, Mom. So, and I only mention this not to show off the microphone, but I'm going to sound a lot different. I'm still getting used to this and everything that this microphone can pick up on, which is everything. But that's not why I'm recording today. So there's a lot going on in wrestling news right now. And I wanted to just share my thoughts on the stories. Because, you know, everyone has an opinion and everyone has a podcast. And I'm everyone. And I have an opinion and a podcast. So you might as well listen to me share them. I'm not going to dig into anything, but this nothing too deep. But the first two topics, they're ride with me on this one. Just go with me on this. The first topic of discussion has to do with Donald Trump being on Taker's podcast. And more so about whether or not this was a good or bad thing overall. As we know, in the United States, the presidential election is in a couple of weeks, and Donald Trump is running against Kamala Harris for the presidency. There is no incumbent, though Kamala Harris is currently the vice president. And this isn't a political debate. Who I'm voting for, who you're voting for, ultimately doesn't matter to me at all. And it's not really the reason why I'm bringing this up. There is a lot of controversy over whether or not Undertaker should have been endorsing anyone or having someone on his podcast. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't listen to Taker's podcast regularly anyway. I've seen some clips, and the clips are funny. So if you're into that kind of a show, sure, go ahead and watch his show, I guess. But I have not seen the episode with him and Trump. And so I have honestly no idea what they talk about, what they've discussed. And the reason I'm bringing it up anyway is it's more so the idea of Undertaker getting heat for it. Here's the difference between the Undertaker, more so Mark Calloway, and Kane, more so Glenn Jacobs. The difference is Glenn Jacobs actually holds a political office. It actually has some authority, some executive authority over a populace in this country. He is the mayor of Knox County, where Knoxville, Tennessee is. The Undertaker, just like me, is a dude with a podcast and opinions. That's why I opened the show that way. And him endorsing Trump, because he actually did a video where he endorsed Trump, is no different than any other podcaster endorsing anybody else. No one who's listening to my voice right now gives a damn about who I'm voting for. I'm voting for Kamala Harris, and it's not really, no one really cares. And that's kind of the overall point here. We can judge each other if we want to, but let's remember that The Undertaker is just a guy. Mark Calloway played a character for several years, and we loved that character, just like Glenn Jacobs played a character for so long, like Stone Cold Steve Austin played a character for so long, like Paul Levesque played a character for so long, like Michael Higginbottom played a character for so long. And we love the character. And we have to remember that these are characters. They are essentially athletic actors. And because we're big fans, or they did this in the script, or they did this in the 90s, doesn't make their opinion any more important than anybody else. All celebrities are people. They just have jobs where they're put in front of people more so than maybe you, me, the local librarian, or the guy that works at the gas station. The same goes for whether you're Garth Brooks or Tim McGraw or Taylor Swift or Pink or 50 Cent or Kanye West. Who you vote for, who they vote for, means absolutely nothing to nobody. So those who are judging Mark Calloway because he endorses one candidate over another, understand that he has the right to his opinions. We can agree with it, we can disagree with it, but that's the beauty of opinions. And the right to share your opinion is the American way. And I'll leave that statement right there. Actually, I won't. One of the things I said yesterday as I was thanking everybody for their birthday wishes was to remember the power of kind words and to keep that energy up over the next few months, particularly the next few weeks, as everyone is actually going to the polls and placing their votes. I can't tell you who to vote for, and this podcast is not a political conversation. I will say that there is power in kind words, and let's not forget that in the upcoming weeks and months, particularly as we interact with each other in person, at work, at schools, at church, and online. There's power in kind words. Let's not forget that power. Now, moving away from that, on Monday Night Raw, it was a great show. Some really good stories were developing out of Monday Night Raw. I don't know how I'm feeling about this 2-hour Monday Night Raw thing. I mean, Dynamite's 2 hours, SmackDown's 2 hours, Impact is 2 hours, Collision is 2 hours. Why shouldn't Raw be 2 hours? NXT is 2 hours. Everyone, the 2-hour thing is pretty good. It's pacing better. I think they're getting used to having 2 hours on Monday Night Raw. And the pacing is getting a little bit better. But we all know what we're here to talk about. We're talking about Carlito and why people are up in arms about what Carlito said in the interaction with Io Sky. Well, actually, it's not even an interaction. It's as they left. Give me a second. I think that gulp was probably too loud for this microphone. Anyway, the segment was this. Io Sky, Kairi Sane were in Pierce's office. They were leaving as Carlito entered. Carlito heard them talking amongst themselves and said, "I need to learn Chinese." Now, some people think that that was grossly offensive. Other people think that the first group of people are idiots for being so upset about it. Let me give you some clarification on why everyone's having an issue with this. And this is my thoughts and feelings based on my experience. Sure. Was it a throwaway line? Probably. Did Carlito mean anything bad by it? Probably not. Was he playing a role as a heel or an idiot? It's quite possibly. Was this the right move? In my opinion, no. The reason being, point blank, very, very simply and compact, when we say things like that, it's like looking at a Latino and just not caring where they're actually from. You know, whether a Latino is from Mexico or Puerto Rico or Cuba or Spain or El Salvador or wherever the Latino is from, their place has history. They have culture, and that culture is part of who they are, and they're all different. So to dismiss one versus another because they're all the same, quote unquote, is insulting. to the very nature of what makes that person that person. The histories of China and the history of Japan are absolutely different. The culture in Japan versus the culture in China are different. And more or less, a person who's Chinese is Chinese, and a person who is Japanese is Japanese. And a Chinese person should not just be dismissed as being Japanese, or everyone being Korean, or everyone being Laotian, or whatever it is. So it comes across dismissive of their Japanese heritage and their Japanese culture. And while the story is that Kyrie and Io essentially don't care, maybe because they know Carlito and they understand his heart a lot better than I do, a lot better than you probably do. And so they don't take offense from the statement itself. They understand where they are, and maybe Carlito, the character, would say something dumb like that, but Carlito, the man, probably wouldn't. And they probably have a deeper understanding of that, deeper than I do, deeper than you do. But the problem comes, and this is where I think the average person who's offended gets offended. It's the notion that we are normalizing dismissal of culture. We are minimizing these factors that make a person that person. And when we look at a Korean person, a Japanese person, and a Chinese person, and we just dismissively say, they're all Chinese. When you do that, you are dismissing the unique nature of being Japanese or being Korean. And you're just saying that everything looks Chinese to you. And that's really unfair. It's a practice that has been done and normalized for many, many decades. Most of my life has been in that space where people act that way socially. And this is the reason why people are so upset by this. Because we're now, the difference between now and like 1994 versus 2024 is that in 94, you could say things like that and no one cared. The people who were actually upset by this weren't in a space socially where they felt comfortable correcting anyone. If they did, their anger and the issue that they were having got dismissed just the same. And this is where the problem comes. We're looking at these situations, we're just like, man, no one cares. And in 94, someone could be upset and it's like, who cares? And there probably some slur is thrown at them. In 2024, we don't do that anymore. Offended parties aren't quiet anymore. And people who are used to being able to say something that's generally offensive and had not been corrected for most of their own lives. And so they've grown used to saying these things. They're like, it wasn't a problem before. It's never been a problem in my life. The people I know have never been upset by it. Why are people upset by it now? Because they're tired of being quiet. So if you guys get anything out of the first 14, 15 minutes of this particular podcast, do understand this. Individuals are individuals. And to respect a person should not be controversial, nor should it be political. People are people, and every person, and that means every, deserves to be respected. And there should not be anything in your normal day-to-day that condones upsetting people and offending them intentionally. That just kind of makes you an asshole. And I know that wrestling kind of promotes the asshole, but at the same time, wrestling is fiction. And we need to keep the fiction, keep it on the page, or in this case, in the ring. Now the 15-minute mark has passed. I want to get on to things I far enjoy talking about more than that. Last night's NXT is one of those things. And that is probably by far one of the best episodes of NXT I've watched before, like ever. I enjoyed that entire show, top to bottom, through and through. There's a great blend of singles action and tag action. There's a lot of tag action. There's a lot of people in the ring over the course of the 2 hours. And I think that they're finally starting to pick up on how much in-ring action there needs to be. And there's a lot more women competing. And let's go with that beautiful segment with Metaphor. Let me talk about Metaphor for just a second. Metaphor, without Noam Dar, in my view, has been far more interesting. Noam Dar, in isolation, is a great wrestler. He's great in the ring. His character is annoying as hell. I don't get the Supernova 11 thing. I don't understand it. But Noam Dar is so good in the ring that it doesn't matter. However, he does so much more character work than in-ring work, and I don't think that he's able to highlight that. Now, granted, that's not where his role is right now, so that's cool. But I would like to see more Noam Dar in the ring, obviously, when he's healthy. But a lot of Metaphor has surrounded Noam Dar and this group of people who are helping Noam Dar. Metaphor, without all the focus on Noam Dar, has been so much more entertaining. I care about Oro Mensah. I care about Jakara Jackson, and I care about Lash Legend. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, call it less than 6 months. Those girls should have tag team gold on them. They should. In fact, I would say that should be the tag team to beat Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I'm sold. I didn't care about those two before. You know, there's something to be said that now that they have room in the Metaphor story to tell an Oro Mensah story over here and Lash Legend Jakara Jackson tag team story over here, that it's actually meaning something. And while the team of Vakur and Julia, it's great, it's strong, there's a big story there, they are not the future tag team champions, not yet. They are highlighting their skills in tag team action. They're getting used to the system. They're getting the WWE universe and a lot of the American audience familiar with their style. And, you know, I'm here for it. Will one of them take the title off of Roxanne Perez? Probably. They're being set up that way. And I couldn't tell you which one will be. But we'll see. I'm cool with it being either one. I'm cool with them bouncing the title back and forth over the next year between the three of them. Why not? I mean, they're all excellent in the ring, and Roxanne Perez is truly right now the star of the NXT women's division. She's probably one of the most highlighted women in WWE right now, as she should be. To end that tag match with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Piper Niven. Huge fan of Piper Niven. I have been since her NXT UK days. To have them show up and then just like, there's like Damage Control versus metaphor. To have it interrupted by Chelsea Green and Piper Niven was great. To have Chelsea Green look credible at the end of this, like we're taking Chelsea Green and her in-ring skills seriously, mwah, fantastic. Great work. I'm so happy with that ending. I was so ecstatic. And then you can take the whole show and look at the development of Javon Evans. You can look at this weird interlacing story with the women surrounding Shanti the Adonis. I'm not really a big fan of his character. I do like the fact that he's playing the lover boy and he's getting shot down. So we're seeing heel behavior, quote unquote, but we're also seeing people react to the heel behavior and saying, hey, what you're doing is not cool. So we're not condoning it on air. It's happening and we're acknowledging that it's bad. So I'm okay with it. He's not taking it too far. He's just kind of being an annoying kind of creepy dude is full of himself. That's fine if he's the heel character and he's getting shot down. But he's won somebody over, is distracting people. It was an excuse to get a soul snatcher on air. I love the soul snatcher. It's one of my favorite moves in professional wrestling right now. Shout out Sol Ruka. Moving into Halloween Havoc for this Sunday, and the segment with Trick Williams and Ethan Page. We're talking about the Devil's Playground. Ethan Page is talking about being the devil himself, playing that role. Do you think it was accidental to have the black suit, red shirt on Ethan Page and having the big, fluffy white fur coat on Trick Williams? No, absolutely not by accident. That's by design, and I love that detail. We know their roles. We know how they're playing. They're playing the dynamic on TV. It's great imagery before the match. And don't be surprised if that's going to be the still that you see as that match gets advertised throughout the weekend. I think I touched on most of it. Oh, the D'Angelo family and the Obafemi stuff. It's again about basically every story that hit on last night's episode of NXT was great, and I'm here for literally all of it. Obafemi is probably my favorite big man, my favorite giant. I think we're starting to finally utilize giants a little bit better. Bronson Reed has character now. Obafemi has character and swag. Like he comes out, he kind of bops to the ring, kind of does a little dance. I love that. I think that's one of the things that Omos was missing. He had no energy. He was the big man, and Omos, no disrespect to Omos, I think he was closer to Khali than he is to Obafemi. I want my giants to be like any other character. Give them personality. Give them a little swag. Give them a little bit of some little edge. And Obafemi, it should be the example of the giant character moving forward for all of wrestling. That's Obafemi. The everything on NXT last night was fantastic. I can't think of anything negative to say. I wish, if anything, NXT was 3 hours. I could have dealt with another hour of that. It was wonderful. And I am now super excited, even more so for Halloween Havoc, just this Sunday. A couple more things. A lot of talk on the Jey Uso title switch. His title reign was too short. I've already discussed on this show how right now we are passing titles back and forth, and I am great with this. This is what we should be doing. Do I think Jey Uso deserved a longer reign? Yes, but here's where we go and we have this problem. We have this issue where we have now been conditioned where a title reign needs to be a year long, right? A title reign needs to be 6 months long. We need to have title reigns that are record breaking. No, we don't. Gunther breaking a record, Roman breaking records, the Usos breaking tag team records. I'm a little salty on that one, but if anyone's going to beat the New Day's record on having tag team gold, at least it was the Usos, because they're still two of the best tag teams in history. I am not one of the people who needs to identify a championship title run with its length. What did you do with it? Did you defend it? Were you present with it? One of my biggest issues I had with Roman's title reign, same with Goldberg's, same with Brock Lesnar's, is that he wasn't even there. Even Gunther's not defending the championship every week, but he's there with the belt. Cody, he's not defending the championship every week, but he's there with the belt. I think a world champion should defend their title every once in a while on TV. I'm perfectly fine with a world champion who does not defend his championship weekly on television. I think that makes the title special. It highlights that I'm the top guy and I'm going to scout and make sure the person I'm facing is worthy of said title. And I'm okay with that. And if you're going to hold one of those secondary championships, a title like the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship, those titles should be defended more often to highlight that champion, because they're going to eventually move to the world title division. At least they should. And that should be where we show off what that champion can do. Gunther no longer needs to do that. Cody no longer needs to do that. Honestly, neither did Brock or Roman. They didn't need to show off anymore. They didn't need to highlight, look how good I am. So to not defend the championship is fine, but be present with it. And Jey Uso did with the Intercontinental Championship what should have been done with the Intercontinental Championship. He defended it. He fought while having it. He showed up as champion, and I'm perfectly fine with that reign. Braun Breaker, I see him as someone who's going to rack up number of reigns. I don't want him to hot potato all the time, but to have a hot potato championship like the Intercontinental Championship is perfectly fine, because it gives multiple wrestlers a chance to not only chase the championship, but then be the champion and then go back to the chase. This is actually a good thing, because it gives more people a chance to highlight and wrestle. What we're doing with the United States Championship and Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, we're talking about Andrade. Andrade's on TV having matches. Carmelo Hayes is on air having matches. They're in the ring. The championship and the champion are staying very close to the story. These are all good things. They're all good things. So sure, it was short, but right now we are moving Jey into this storyline getting him back with the bloodline. This is the best way to do it with the story, because as Intercontinental Champion, he has no reason to necessarily go help. But now he has issue with the bloodline, the new bloodline. So now he has to go. He has to. And that's fine. That's how the story would be written in the most generic sense. So it makes sense to do it. It's the easiest, the simplest. We just go with it. I'm here for it. Let's see what this next chapter looks like. And I will close this episode as we approach the 30-minute mark. I will close this episode with my sadness of seeing Samantha Irvin leave WWE and leave Monday Night Raw. She was the voice of Monday Night Raw. Hearing her announcements brought me joy, as it did with a lot of people. She became a character without having to be a character. She didn't need a storyline. She just had a genuine energy that everyone could like attach themselves to, and everyone wanted to experience as often as possible. And aside from being an incredibly just stunning woman, she did her job and did her job so well that she is the new standard of ring announcing. I don't care what company you work for. I don't care if you're male or female. I don't care your ethnicity. You are the example, Samantha Irvin, of ring announcing, period. You're the new standard. Congratulations. Uh, One of the things I loved about Samantha Irvin is her representation with her hair. She didn't tone anything down. She was authentically herself at all times. Honestly, I think no one does that better than Alicia Taylor. God bless Alicia Taylor and Alicia Taylor's hair. She puts that hair on display as it should be, and I, as a black man, love her for it. I'll admit I was initially critical of Lillian Garcia's return. I feel like there had to be a bigger story behind that. There probably isn't. We're seeing that Samantha just wants to go pursue music. And if there's a time for Samantha Irvin to pursue music, now is it. Now is that time. She has a fan base. She has the respect of a large group of people. And to walk into a professional music career with that behind you already, I mean, why wouldn't you? Do it at the highlight. Do it at the apex of that fandom. Do it now. So I understand first week was a little rough coming back. Sure. I'm not going to highlight the mistakes. We're just going to let it go. I'm going to mature and let the mistakes of Lillian Garcia on the first night back, let it go. And I will just say, welcome back, Lillian. And to Samantha Irvin, if these words ever catch your ear, thank you for your time in WWE. Thank you for what you've done for that role. Thank you for making it okay to be unique and quirky in how you do such a standardizing job. Because people like Howard Finkel and even Bruce Buffer, Michael Buffer, they do a job in such a way that's almost standard. I love Bruce Buffer from the UFC because of just how much energy he puts into his announcing. Literally, you guys don't have any idea, but like I would sit when we would watch UFC pay-per-views when it gets like the main event. I'm standing up right in front of the TV, and I have all my energy. I'm bouncing back and forth, man. And it's embarrassing if anyone wants to watch it, but it's a great thing. The energy that Bruce Buffer put into his announcements for the UFC, top notch. And Samantha Irvin did the same thing in WWE. And this is not a call for any of the other announcers to step their game up. Micro, you're fine. Alicia Taylor, you're fine. Lillian Garcia, you'll be fine. It's just that there's a space that no one can fill that she created. And Samantha, we love you, and we are thankful for all the time that we had with you in the WWE. The most success in your pending music career. Whatever your first musical release is, do know one of those copies will be purchased by the moon. We love you and we care. If you end up ring announcing somewhere else, sure, we'll follow you there. But I think following, just do the music thing and let us enjoy that. You have a wonderful singing voice. You're a very talented musician. We all know that. We're all looking forward to it. And I think that's it. I think this is a pretty simple episode. I know it kind of started off a little, but you know what? Podcasting opinions, that's what it is. And the gist of all of this is to enjoy the show. There are changes. things will go in ways we don't exactly want them or plan them to. But people are people, humans are humans, and we do more by sharing and highlighting positives than we do with condemning all the negatives. We can agree and disagree on what was good and what was bad, but that's like people who tell me that WrestleMania 25, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, wasn't the greatest match in professional wrestling ever. Some people are going to say it's not, and they're wrong, in my opinion. And it's perfectly fine for them to think differently than me. And it's okay if you think differently than me too. I still love you, and I hope I'll see you next week. Either way, move now.